about habit number three. Habit number three, which is to give and share. Well, who do you give and share with? Well, you give and share to individuals. You do it with your churches and charities and groups and teams and organizations, athletic teams, band, whatever it is. We're all in the mood of giving and all in the mood of helping people and by sharing. So when we talk about give and share, I want you to think for a second, what has ever happened where you have um, got something from someone that has made a huge difference? I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs. I've read lots of stuff about Steve Jobs and listened to a lot of videos about him. And one of the things that he talks about is that you can't always connect the dots going forward, but you can connect the dots going back. So if you look at your life, I want you to think for just a second, who are the people or the incidences or the activities that you've done that you can definitely go back and say, that has made a huge difference in my life. That put me on a different track than I would have been on. That put me on a different path than what I would have been otherwise. You look at successful people and you look at the path they're on. Are they on the right path? Or are they on the wrong path? Are they on the right path when it comes to studying? Are they the right path when it comes to uh, managing their money? Success principles, marriage principles. What are the things that they are doing that puts them on that right path? Now, I want you to go back, though, and I want you to go back and connect the dots going backwards and see if you can see specifically when there were some times that you had that made a huge difference. And I'm just going to talk about a couple of them right now because habit number three is about giving and sharing. Giving and sharing. Now, there's all kinds of ways to give, and there's all kinds of ways to share. You can give finances, you can give money, you can give time, you can give energy, you can give knowledge. Who are you sharing it with? You're sharing with your family, you're sharing with your kids, you're sharing with your nieces, nephews, you're sharing with the neighbors, you're sharing concepts at church, you're sharing with other people, you're sharing with the football team that you're helping to coach. The only way that you can get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life. The whole foundation is created on this principle. And it's habit number three of giving and sharing, giving and sharing, and giving and sharing. And so Zig Ziglar said it best, says the only way you get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life. And of course, Tony Robbins said the secret to living is giving. If you want to make a huge difference, you need to give. Now, I've been on this earth for 66 years. I've been around a lot. I've learned a lot. I've seen it in action, and there's some takeaways. There's some takeaways that I could give to you that'll help you to stay on the right path. If you're not on the right path, how do you get off that path and get onto a different path? And I'm going to talk about a couple incidences that happened in my life that really put me on a different path. Now, my mom and dad were wonderful. My dad was mom and dad started out in 1930. They started with nothing. Literally, they didn't even have the two nickels to rub together. They went to high school together. They got married at an early age. They were both only had one sibling. My mom's father passed away when she was very young. She was like 5 or 6. And my grandmother basically raised my mom by herself, a single mom. And so that was a challenge. And my mom had one sibling. My dad had one sister. And they married, they fell in love and started a family. And I guess well, there's 10 of us. you know, my mom and dad said they were so poor they didn't have anything else to do. So they kept having kids. They didn't have anybody to go anywhere. Thank goodness for that anyway. And so my parents taught us all kinds of stuff. And my dad, there's no such thing as a self-made person, but there is a person that is very aggressive in figuring out how to change their stars. And that was my mom and dad. They both grew up during the Depression. They were born in 1930. Hitler gained a little bit of power in 1928, but through the 30s, he really gained a lot of power. Europe was in a mess after World War I, and it started again with World War II. So they grew up with nothing, and it was very hard to make ends meet. My grandpa worked on the Hoover Dam. in Las Vegas, and he said you could buy the whole strip for a nickel. The problem was nobody had a nickel, you know. So out of desperate times and desperate things, that changes people, and you look at how that reverberates down through nature. But my dad taught us kids about how to be successful because he was figuring it out, and he had a big family, small town, had some small businesses, and he taught us how to do that. And if we wanted any money, we had to go do it. So I just take my hat off to my mom and dad as those first people that made such a huge difference. But then you say, was there anybody on the outside that made a difference in your life? That you can point to them and say, that was where I thought this new thought and it kind of put me on a different path. And one of those is a lady that lived just one block from us. She had, her husband had passed away tragically, and she was by herself, and she had one daughter. She had very bad health, and she was the school librarian. And as far as I know, she only did this with 5 of us kids in the neighborhood, but she gave us each a $2 bill. Now that's a real $2 bill right there. And this one happens to be way back in 19, gosh, I can't even read that. This one is an old one, old series, but that's an old $2 bill. And today that's worth that's probably $20 or $30 in today's money. So with inflation, it's worth a lot more. But she gave each of us kids $2. And then she did something very interesting. She also added some coins to it. And she gave us 22 cents in coins. And so the $2 was for us to start working on our plan, to start working on our future. Where are we going? Part of this was to go to school, to college. Part of it was to serve a Christian mission. Part of it was to start thinking about long term. And the 22 cents was to give away. And she gave us 20 cents. And then she came back and gave us 2 more cents because she felt like she rounded in the wrong direction, which I thought was very interesting. And she gave us 22 cents to give away. Now, this woman didn't have hardly anything. When her husband passed away, she was on her own, and it was tough. It was tough, but she thought of others. And so you think about that was a seed that was planted with us 5 kids in the neighborhood. And we have literally replicated this thousands and thousands of times. This stuff that she did made a huge difference in my life because it was the first time that an outsider basically agreed with what my parents were teaching me. And inside there is a picture of this gal. His name is Mrs. Broadhead. And that's her right there. And that was a seed that was planted, an outside seed, somebody besides my parents and family that basically agreed with my parents. That it was another voice. Oh, my mom and dad say this, my grandpa says this, but guess what? Here is an outsider that's not part of the family that agrees with what we're doing. That planted a seed, a money seed. The second one that was very interesting, again, my dad taught me about money and about success and stuff like that. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video. But I'm just talking about outside people. And one of those people that I want to talk to you about is I went to high school. I graduated. I had a scholarship to go to school in Idaho, of all places, up in Rexburg. And I got a scholarship to go there. And I was living in an apartment complex. And one day I walked into the office, and there's this older guy. This guy wasn't older. I was in my teens, of course. And he was playing ping pong with some of the other students. I had walked into the office for some reason, and there was a case of books, and he had a case of books. And he was giving away his book. Okay. And so his name was Mark Harrelson. And he had a book, and this book right down here on the bottom called Financial Genius. How to Wake Up the Financial Genius Inside You. It was the very first book, an organized book that I ever read about money. And it taught me principles that I wasn't learning in college. I wasn't going to college, and, I was taking, because you had to take classes that aren't really going to help you, I don't think. But this is the book, and this is the guy right here. Now, one of the great things about the Success Money Foundation is that it's made up of people that want to help other people. So when you come here to number 3 courses, you can come down here to study successful people. You study successful people, the best-selling authors, educators, and entrepreneurs. And when you click on that link, it's going to take you to a page. So if you say, hey, I just want to study stuff that Tom Painter's teaching, or I want to follow Robert Allen or Casey Ba, or I want to follow Warren Buffett, Mark Victor Hansen, the Chicken Soup for the Soul guy, or in this case, I'm going to show there's Mark Harrelson, Steve Jobs, and the list goes on. But one of the major things that had a huge impact was Mark Harrelson's book, because it was the first time that I had read the book that was organized about financial pieces there. And of course, there's an online course. You can go through the whole book, and he's a friend of mine. But you can read the book here. You can get it on Amazon if you want a hard copy, or you can go through the online course. And so that is someone that made a huge difference. Now, he did not have to bring those books to class. I mean, he didn't have to bring those books. He brought a book. He brought one of his best-selling books, and he gave it to the students freely. That's this person that had a huge impact. Robert Allen had a huge impact. The books he's done, the way he's given. I've been with him when we've gone to colleges and given away books, and we actually gave them financial rewards for reading the book, because that's how we need to make a difference. And your life is a model of that. And so that exact same thing is why we created the Success and Money books right here. So Success and Money, there are 3 different books that you can do. And the simplest one, the smallest one you have right here is this Success and Money Simple Habits. The Simple Habits book, and it's $5, $5 US. And you'll notice the thing about it is that it's simple. It's only 72 pages. It's the smallest book I could create with Amazon, and it's color. It's easy to read. There's not a lot of paragraphs to it. It's color. It's got lots of graphics to it. And so that is our giveaway. This is how I'm giving back. And it's after a model that I learned from these other guys. The Success and Money Simple Habits is small. Then you get to the next book, which happens to be the Success and Money Habits, which is just a little bit bigger. And then, of course, you can get to the Success and Money Secrets, which is up one more step than that. And I'm going to show you that briefly right here so you can have access to it, because that's what we do. We are giving people. We want to help other people. So if you come here, you can click on my stuff here. You can go to there's all kinds of places you can find this. But here we are right here. You click on that individual right there. And there's the introduction to the foundation. There's the habits book. That's a little bit bigger. It's twice the size. It's got 250 pieces. There's the habits book, which is the simplest thing you can do. And then, of course, there's all kinds of other books as well. So that's another person that made a huge difference in my life. Mark Victor Hansen, the Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. I'm going to take you there. And he was really a big influence on Robert Allen and I, because we both were big givers. But he said it was okay to talk about it. You know, we were teaching financial lessons and stuff like that. And he said, hey, it's okay to talk about it. Well, he's the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And one of the interesting things is that each of those books, and I don't know, they've sold 30, 40, 50 million copies of those books, but they put a charity with each one of them. So as they get a royalty, they take part of that royalty money and they donate that to charity. And so if you want to follow givers, this is a good friend of mine, Mark Victor Hansen. And you can see those are some of the books. And then, of course, he did some books with Robert Allen. But there's big givers, the 1 Minute Millionaire. And there's an online course right there that you can go through, the 1 Minute Millionaire, cracking the millionaire code, and things like that. So that is another great person right there. Who else are big givers? And you're saying, well, why would you give? Well, you know what? Givers get. It's really interesting. If you're stingy and you're not helping anybody, well, they're not going to help you. And I've worked with some billionaires, you know, and they're very giving. They all usually have a foundation. They're trying to make a difference. And so that's what the foundation is right now, the giving. So when we talk about habit number 3, isn't it interesting that habit number 3 is before investing? It's before spending. It's the first thing, is helping other people. And I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's time. I don't care if it's education or passing along some good information or whatever it is. But if you will put other people in front of you to help them, And you can do it very quickly. You can send somebody a text in 20 seconds that might just make their day. Your job is to help other people. And if you'll do that, it'll all come back to you in spades. It'll all come back to you multiplied. And that's the foundation. That's why we created the foundation. So my wife and I put $3 million into the foundation. You're going, why would he do that? Well, one was because we had the money, but we had it because we learned from other people. They gave us that information, and we had to pull the trigger and make it happen. And this is probably the most important work I'll be doing in my lifetime. I've done amazing things before this, but this is probably the most important thing I'll do, which is to make a huge difference in people's lives, and especially in the lives of the people that probably couldn't buy what other people are selling. So whatever everybody else doing, we're doing the opposite of that. And we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of you that have started saving and investing. You're on a different path now, and you are now responsible to share that with other people. Robert Allen, myself, and Kurt Mortensen are looking at a book, and one of the books that we're trying to create is the true story of Johnny Appleseed. And some of you have heard about Johnny Appleseed. It's a folk tale, but he was really a real guy, and he was around at 1776 when America was just getting started. The Declaration of Independence was right then, and he is a real guy that taught people, that planted apple trees. And back then, if you planted trees, you could own the land. You'd have to plant the trees, and if you leave trees there or cultivated it, then it became yours after a number of years. And he taught people all over as he was going, and helped them to have a better life. And he ended up having a wonderful life. So some of these folk tales are real, but it's all about sharing and helping other people. The only way you can get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life. The secret to living is giving. And if you'll do those things, it'll come back to you. The most successful people I've ever seen. Now, some people make a lot of money quickly, and that's great. But most likely they made it number one, and it's gone in number five. Okay. It's just gone. We're not doing that. We're building a wealth machine. And part of that wealth machine is to give back. And then as you give back, it comes back to you. So that's our habit number 3. I want you to get deep into that so you understand it, do it, make a difference. And, you can see the differences that we're making in the foundation itself. And so when we come back here to the foundation, there is all kinds of successes that we're having here. So I'm going to take you back to the screen one more time right here. So if you go down to number 5, the success in charities, we have all kinds of money angels. We've got students that have received rewards, make a difference projects. One of the things we do at the foundation is we do a lot with eyesight video. So come if you want a shot in the arm, come up here to number 5 as a pull down menu, and then just go look down here. The Make a Difference acts of service. As a foundation, it's mission number 1. It's the most important mission of what we do. And this was named after my in-laws, my wife's parents, who are just incredible. And there are all kinds of photos and books and stuff like that of you doing things to make a difference in somebody else's life. Okay. And so that's why that's so important. You can see photos right here of you making a difference in someone else's life. These are real people. These are peeps. And you're making a difference, guys. You're making a difference. Your job is to help somebody on their path to have a better life. That's what's so crucial and so key to it. Okay. So that's our system right there, guys. You're doing a great job with it. You're making it happen. It's habit number 3, which is to give and share. But when we talk about the mission, we have 3 missions. Mission number 1 is to help those in need. We're a charity first. That actually happens to have all kinds of wonderful materials to help other people to fulfill that as well. And I want you to know how proud we are and how thankful we are that you're making it happen, guys. You're making it happen. And I don't care if you're helping one person, 100 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people. Every spirit, every soul has equal value. And your job is to help them have a little bit better life. Thanks.